Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cedarwood Valley, and as you can see, we're in with a new coaster here. And now this is going to be an Intamin Megalite, and for all of you who don't know what that is, I'll explain it in a little bit. But first, I just want to say a quick shout out to Geekism for mentioning me today in the Frontier Expo stream when he was on YouTube streaming. I actually just had woken up and went into the live comments, and he was mentioning his park, and I was saying I really like his park, and it's kind of similar to mine. I actually commented on one of his videos saying how alike our actual names of the parks are, and he actually said that's the weirdest thing, because he literally must have mentioned me 30 seconds before I came onto this stream. So I just thought that was pretty funny. So quick shout out to him before we get into talking about what this coaster is going to be like. So the very first thing I want to talk about is money and park history. So Intamin Megalites, even on their website, this is what it says. The unique Mega-lite coaster with a first drop of approximate 30 meters resulting in speed of 85 kilometers an hour certainly belongs in the family of spectacular coasters. Intamin's engineers have developed a range of similar coasters with all the thrilling ride effects, but at a level which is affordable to any park. Speaking, about some of their bigger coasters like Millennium Force. So why I'm referencing Millennium Force is because this was the same coaster model that was Millennium Force, and not coaster model, but the same ride type, the same car type, the same track type, and right as of this moment, the same color. So that first overbank turn is actually kind of inspired by Millennium Force's first overbank turn, although that is a mega coaster and this is a Mega-lite. The reason which being that Cedarwood Valley at this time didn't have a lot of money to put into a coaster, or not nearly as much as they did, in the past. And I'm kind of going to get into that a little bit, probably in the next episode of kind of where this fits into everything. But we got big things planned. That's all I can say at this moment. So other things about the layout of this coaster, I really wanted to include everything in the area, and then I'm going to include more things, as I build around the station, that type of stuff. So I wanted to include, the sights from the water. I wanted to be able to see it from the sky ride. I wanted to be able to kind of interact with just the edge of the mountain, just at the base of the mountain. I thought that was something that was really important to me, and then also interacting with future plans that are going to be happening, right in this other area. So a few really important things that I did with this ride was to make, the shaping right, of the lift hill, which I kind of cut out, and I cut out the entire 4-meter smoothing technique because I thought it was going to be a little bit boring for you guys to see. But in the end, we come out with a ride that's almost identical to the statistics that are on Intamin's website, being mine is, I think, 20 meters longer than their average one. It is 2 miles per hour slower than they say their maximum speed is for it, and it is the exact same height as their maximum height for Intamin Megalites. So other things that I kind of worked on with it was snappy transitions, high G-force lats, and just an overall kind of a quick ride. There's no block brakes or anything in there, so you're there's 2 cars in it, but you kind of only leave once the other one comes back. So this next part here is my first attempt at an observation tower, and I posted pictures on Reddit of my first attempt and my second attempt, and I'm also going to put them right here, right now. I know it's kind of actually, I'm not going to put them right there. So if you're expecting something, sorry, spoiler. I don't want to put the spoiler up right now, but I will show you it later, because obviously it's going to show you both of these being built. So while I'm kind of building this failed attempt, and I left this here because I want a little bit of time to talk about some other things that have been going on. So I'm sorry that I haven't really been updating or uploading lately. As you guys know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you, because I've been saying it for a little bit, that I just started a new job, and I've been working like crazy. And I love it so far, but I don't have a lot of time to do some of the things like this. So I'm actually getting on here today. I've been meaning to do it, honestly, for a week now. I have 2 episodes queued up, this being one of them, and then I have another section of time lapse. I've already recorded, so I just gotta get it done. And so that, and the fact that FIFA just came out, and I've been kind of playing that a lot. although they just put out a really crappy update. I'm not going to talk too much about it. It's just one of my other passions. I just love soccer. If you also love soccer, I'm a Liverpool fan. If you don't like Liverpool, it's a bummer, but it's my favorite team. So that being said, we're going to move on a little bit to other things that I wanted to talk about, and kind of like more like the theme of where this park's going. Like what's going to happen to the rest of this park, because this, as you can see, this is like a big focal point to the park right now. Even though that I don't keep this tower, I built one exactly in this spot, and I do want to, I do want to include it. So I got a new phone as well, a Samsung Galaxy Note 8, and the way that works, I now have like a little pen, so I can draw on my phone. So every time that I was kind of bored or I couldn't fall asleep or something, I would draw some sketches. So I'm going to show a sketch right now that I made kind of a sightline that I envision. Now it's not going to look exactly like this, and yes, this is an awful sketch, but you know what? Give me a break. There's a lot of things in here that I really want to build, and as you can see, there's one very big coaster in the background that's not built yet. I'm not going to reveal anything about that coaster, but it's just something that's in the plans for the end of this main street. Now to move on to talking about these three main streets at the focal point of this observation tower. I'm like, you heard me just talk about, the park didn't have enough money at this time to build a real Intamin mega coaster, so they built a Mega-lite. So now you're probably asking me, well, why would you build this huge hub if they didn't have the money for it? That's a great question, and the answer to that is the history of the park is actually changed a little bit. So they used to not have that money, right around the time that Millennium Force was built. They didn't have the money to build something of that size. But once they saw the type of crowds that type of coaster brought in, that's when they called up Intamin and were like, yo, let's get something in the works here. So before that time, when they had more money, was when they built this center observation tower in the midst of these three main streets. And now the theming for these main streets is going to be a little more themed than the rest of the park, and I'm kind of going to talk about that more when I build them. But the kind of idea behind that is that it was an IP sort of thing, so that it wasn't, so IP being intellectual property, so we're saying we did something like Universal Studios in a Harry Potter ride, right? They came in as an IP, so the kind of the more scenery based things were more based on the IP than the park itself, because my park is a very simple park. So I kind of want to do that, so we're gonna have to put that on the back burner for now, because I want to talk a little bit about how I created this tower and what my inspirations were for it. Now I literally just searched observation tower on Google, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I had an idea, but I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And then I came across this kind of exoskeleton sort of one, and then that's when I decided that is what I want to do. It was after my first failed attempt that I actually went really deep into searching for what did I really want this to look like. And through looking at that picture, I kind of realized that if I just put this beam on an angle, right, the way it is, I could kind of make it into this very unique shape with not a lot of work. Now that's I'm not saying it was easy, because it definitely was not, but the way in which I did it was very economical in terms of my time use, my time management, and it was actually super helpful. So if you have trouble deciding how things should be built, especially things like this that would spin around the actual axis of itself, that's one of the things that you have to look for. If you can have something spin around an axis to create a building like this one, you should do that to save a lot of time. And I know it's probably not making sense to you if you don't actually know how to, I'm saying, spin around the axis. But if you don't, go to Silverwood's tutorial on building a dome, and then instead of building a dome, just kind of think of different scales and different ways that you could use that same sort of technique to build your own observation towers, for example. That's exactly how I learned that type of stuff, and that's exactly how I applied it to so many buildings in this park. So as you can see right now, I put the base in, and then the first thing I did was, I put the exoskeleton in first, right? And then I started putting in, sort of the structural, foundational sort of things, and then a little bit of, adding on scenery. And the adding on scenery in this case is me stacking the layers. Yes, it's back again. Not better than ever, but it's still back. And one of the things I wanted to do was kind of create a little more unique sort of feel to this building, whereas it wasn't just a standalone observation tower. So I'm putting in these windows here to make it almost seem like, you know, there could be like a restaurant in there. Like one of them could be like for private events. Maybe one of them could be for, you know, actually open to all of the guests and stuff like that. So that's just kind of like what I was thinking when I built it. And then of course, adding in these extra details, stacking the layers to make it look a little bit more unique and a little bit, you know, better for me at least. I was not actually happy with just the exoskeleton and the internals over there. So I just wanted to add a little bit more. And so now I'm just kind of like looking at it from like different angles. And if you learned one thing from watching this video, and if you stayed this long, like thank you, because I hope you enjoy it, what I do, because I enjoy it. So what I was saying was, after I got a little distracted there, was one of the best things that you can do when building a building, yes, is just taking a step back and kind of thinking for yourself, where does this fit into the area, right? How does this make sense, right? And more so than that is, what is it going to look like from the peep level? Looking at things from the peep level is extremely helpful in making things seem realistic and helping things seem like they should be there, right? And right now, obviously this observation tower doesn't look like it should be there, because if you go into the peep view right next to it, or on the very empty triple Main Street area that we're gonna see here, it doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. But if you look at it from other parts in the park, which is, I don't know if I do it right here, if I do it later, it actually does look like it fits in, and I actually quite like it. So I played around with the pathing for a long time here, to kind of figure out, like, all I wanted to do was have the observation tower in the middle of these three streets and in the middle of that circle path. And obviously that would drive everyone freaking crazy if it wasn't perfect. So I went back and I did it a couple of times. So I just kind of want to like recap. I'm not really sure what I want to do with the scope of this park, or where I want to go with the future of this park. I have a lot of plans, but right now it's hard to me to reconcile the history of my park being like a very normal plain park, like a Cedar Fair park, with a park now that is going to be a little bit more in tune with theming, IPs, and obviously a huge observation tower. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to all pan out, but I have some thoughts in place that make it a little bit more agreeable. And if you completely disagree with, you know, the direction of my park, that's fine with me. And if you want to say something, say it. But I just encourage you to have a little bit of thoughtful criticism, so that it actually helps me decide where I want to go. Because right now it's not very clear what exactly I want to do. Besides, of course, stacking the layers again on these windows, which is actually makes the entire like building come together. Like those little white pieces, that's all this building needed for me to like completely finish it. So before we get into some of the cinematics and a bonus POV, yes, there's a bonus POV, I just want to talk a little bit about the coloring and the name of the Intamin Megalite behind the scene here. And it's actually going to be called Firestorm. And it took me a very long time to figure out the name for it and the color scheme. I actually like went online and like searched like different like paint swatches. I don't know what they're called. I'm gonna put it right here because I can't remember right now for the life of me what they're called. And I just kept looking them up until I found something I liked, and then I kind of painted it to a very slow changing sort of gradient on like the colors of fire. And so I think it fit in really nicely. And at night I put in a lot of colors that kind of complement that, and it just looks pretty good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this a little bit different video. And if you're here this for the first time from today when you heard my name being dropped, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys like these cinematics, and I will see you guys next time in Cedarwood Valley.